Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. The show where, just like you, we can't get enough sports.
The 47-year wait is over! And the Nuggets win it! Wilson throwing up for grabs and is caught for the touchdown! And the Denver Broncos have taken Super Bowl 50. To the Avalanche are 2022 Stanley Cup champions! And a shot into the back of the net for Diego Rubio!
Now here's your hosts, Arthur Knight, Larry Perkins, and Austin Sorensen.
Yeah,
finally.
Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. I am Arthur Knight, and with me is Larry Perkins. And we are coming to you out of Denver, Colorado from So High Cafe, where it's featuring Viper Pit Barbecue. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. Yes, Viper Pit Barbecue. Come by and holla at Vinny. Get you some burn-ins, some mac and cheese, some home-style mac and cheese, man. Get you some ribs. He's always got something good cooking. Larry seems to like the hot links. No pun intended. Okay. He said make sure you get that ranch, though.
1-0. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Make sure you get that ranch, otherwise he can't eat it. But anyways, make sure you come by and holler at Vinny. Let him know that the Sportz Phenz sent you. That's at So High Cafe off of Alameda and Stewart here in Denver. Come by and say hi to Vinny, So High Cafe. All right, man. So Nugget season is over. Minnesota moves on. It is what it is. The Nuggets seem to give it up in the end, man. They had quite a few chances to win the game. They just couldn't pull it off. Minnesota was the better team in that moment. And, you know, the Nuggets are still young. They got to make some moves, most likely. I'm not sure what moves anybody thinks. I mean, everybody seems to say the Nuggets need to make all of these moves. But the new CBA kind of hamstrings the Nuggets in what they can do because, you have MPJ. Yeah, you have all of these tradable, quote-unquote, tradable pieces. But teams have to actually want them, too. Not to mention you have to get equity for them, right? So you can't just trade them away and bust up this team. Like everybody seems to think you got to bust up this team, but I feel like this team kind of just ran into a fatigue wall. The league is kind of designed that way now. It's not like back in the 90s and 80s where you can run the table. I think the stat was said the other night that the reigning champions have not made it past the second round since like 2007 or something like that. I think they said that stat like literally right after the game was over because Golden State, right, last year, second round, didn't win, right? They had won the year before, knocked out in the second round. I believe the Lakers in 2020 and 2021 knocked out in the second round, right?
No.
Or what did they get knocked out in?
Lakers they three-peated.
In 2020, what?
I'm sorry. I'm thinking 2000. Yeah, 2020 they got put out in the first round by Phoenix.
I thought it was the second round. 2020 they won the bubble.
In 2021 they got put out in the first round.
Was it the first round? Okay.
By Phoenix, yeah.
Okay. So they still didn't make it past the second round though, right? I mean that was kind of the point. I think that the NBA has made it to where the peril within the league.
Why you think that though?
Well, because the way they kind of structure these games, especially in the playoffs now, it's a little different. It's still 82 games, but like the Nuggets had more back-to-back games than any other team this season. And some of their back-to-back games were like away and away. Like they were playing Minnesota and then having to fly down to Miami or something like that.
So you think it's them you're messing tinkering with the scheduling?
Well, I mean, it's scheduling. It's, a mixture of scheduling with, if you couple that with like the way free agency is run now, players in the 80s and 90s didn't have the freedoms that players have in the NBA today. They just didn't. Free agency was not like it is today, right? Players can basically, like KCP, let's take him for instance. He has a player option, if he doesn't pick up that player option, he's an unrestricted free agent. He can go wherever he wants. That wasn't the type of deals that were being made in the 80s and 90s or the 70s, right? That you were signed to a team, that team kept you until they decided to let you go, and then you could go to another team. That's kind of the way that worked. LeBron's era kind of changed that. The collective bargaining has changed, but it's the collective bargaining has hamstringed a lot of teams. That's why the Nuggets aren't the only ones in trouble. Minnesota has to win it this year because they have they have the same issue that the Nuggets had about 4 years ago. The Nuggets, it was like 1 through 8 or 9. They were top players, top bench players. Monte Morris was one of those players, right, that plays for Minnesota now. So they had all of these top layer, even bench players, 1 through 9, and they had depth. Now they don't have that depth. You got to tighten up because they have, 3 max players on their starting lineup. So it's kind of hard with the way these strings are set up with the CBA. The Nuggets can only – that's why they weren't able to bring back Bruce Brown. Is because they were only going to – because of the CBA, they were only allowed to offer him, I think it was like $7 million. It was no more than $9 million, but I'm pretty sure it was $7 million was the most.
Because of the 3 max contracts.
Well, it's not just the 3 max contracts. It's because of like his bird rights or something to that effect. Like when they picked him up and they signed him to the 2-year deal or the year deal. No, it was a 2-year deal because I think he had a player option, right? He could have picked up that option for the 2nd year, and he didn't because he knew that he could make more money if he actually signed in free agency, which he did. But then he ended up getting traded to Toronto and didn't even get a chance to get a run at the ring.
But he got his money.
He got his money. He got his bag.
He already got a ring.
Now, the thing about Bruce Brown is Toronto has a team option. So there's been talks about maybe the team, Toronto picking him up and then, picking up his contract and then trading him because they have to get something for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't pick up his contract, he's unrestricted free agent. He can go wherever he wants.
They're going to pick it up.
Granted, they're probably going to pick it up because they got to get something for him. There's no way. Either he's going to play for them for another year or they've got to trade him away and get something for him, right?
Yeah.
Because they traded who did they trade for him? Was it Siakam?
He was a part of that trade, yeah.
Yeah. So Siakam went to Indiana, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that type of player, or that's what I mean is that's the type of contracts that I'm talking about when it comes to the Nuggets. It's like, yeah, KCP has an option. He could pick it up and they can make another run at it, but he could also not pick it up. And then the Nuggets have to fight for him in free agency, and they're not going to have the money for him. Even if you trade away a KCP, not KCP, an MPJ, or, you're not going to trade away AG, Joker, or Murray. Those 3, I'm saying right now are untouchable. A lot of people would disagree with me that MPJ is untouchable, but MPJ disappeared in this they could have used him in this series.
Yeah.
Because they were honing in on the other 3. That was his time to shine, man. And it really was. I'm so disappointed in him because in the Lakers series, he actually did. It was his time because that's exactly what the Lakers did. They shut out Murray. They didn't shut down Murray and Joker, but you know what I mean. They slowed them down, and then they kind of slowed down AG. But because of the fact that MPJ was able to make threes and get those rebounds and make a few plays.
Reggie Jackson didn't show up either. Holiday didn't show up.
Holiday didn't show up you're right. You're absolutely right.
The thing is, I always said, that.
Well, Holiday showed up in some games. Just not in the complete series.
Denver has the best starting 5.
Mm-hmm.
That I got to admit, they have the best starting 5 in the league, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I always told you, what did I tell you before? I said their bench, it's a little shaky sometimes. And that proved to be right in this series.
Well, their bench, I don't agree with that. I think their bench played as well as they could.
That's right. They didn't.
They played as well as they could, but the starting five played a lot of heavy minutes. That's the one critique if I had to give to Coach Malone, and I don't criticize him very often.
Why did they play the starters all those minutes? Because he's the coach. Malone didn't have that confidence in the bench. I mean,
but the thing is that Peyton Watson played enough good defense during the regular season to get some minutes.
Okay players.
I would have been okay. But the bottom line is I would have been okay if he put Peyton Watson in just to foul Anthony Edwards. Like, just put him on him to bug him. Use him as like that Patrick Beverly type player. Just to bug him. Because when he did that to Anthony Davis, and when they did that to LeBron, they put Peyton Watson on. He didn't stop him. I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to go out on a limb and say, oh, Peyton Watson shut those two players down, because that's not the case. But the fact of the matter is he did bug them. He bugged them enough to where there were long, lengthy periods of time where they had up and down in scoring, right? He did just enough to pester them to where they got frustrated and off their game, and he didn't get barely a minute except for garbage time minutes in this. So that if I had to criticize Coach for one thing, that's what I would criticize. But the bottom line is that, I do feel like the Nuggets just ran into that sophomore wall, man. Jokic and Murray looked exhausted out there. MPJ disappeared. He was missing the rim altogether with his shot, which was like blew my mind.
I'm still disappointed, being a Laker fan. That's why I was kind of happy that they did get rid of Darvin Ham, because basically the Lakers, like I told you before, man, the Lakers gave the league the blueprint on how to stop the Denver in 2020. And in him, as talking about the coach Darvin Ham, after last season when they got put out by Denver, I would have just looked even back before that and just said, how can we lose to these guys? I mean, how did we beat them pretty good in 2020? What's missing here? The two bigs. But no.
It's not even just about two bigs, though. It's about
he was tired. It's
because they kept throwing, like Minnesota threw three bigs at him,
and they threw Naz Reid.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They threw Reed at him. They threw Towns at him, and they threw who?
He's not a. He's like a small forward type.
Who?
Naz Reid is like a tweener.
He's a forward. So
he was a forward, but
he's a big man. He's a big. He's not a center, but he's a stretch four. He's at least a stretch four. He could play the five in a small ball situation.
But the point is, the Lakers coach didn't do that.
But who was he going to put in? We have this conversation all the time. You keep telling me the Lakers needed to put in two bigs. What two bigs were they going to put in?
I am not talking during the season. I'm talking about off season.
Okay.
They was not looking to upgrade that center spot. They got Jackson Hayes.
And who's in charge of that? Was it Darvin Ham?
Well, he has a say in personnel. When he got hired 2 years ago.
Are you sure about that?
Yes,
You're sure that he had because when his last entry or his exit interview, he made it very clear that this was LeBron's team and LeBron made the blueprint and LeBron got all of the players he wanted and scapegoated.
Well, then they lied to him. Because I remember I listened to the press conference when he got hired next to Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka said that Darvin Ham is going to be working with us, conjunction of the roster building. Mm-hmm. And if
that's nice that he said that, but because he said it, does that make it true?
Well, like I said, he must have lied.
Yeah,
Rob Pelinka must have lied to Laker fans.
Because it seemed like Mr. LeBron James had more fingerprints on the last 4 or 5 years since he's gotten in LA, and he's the one that orchestrated the Westbrook trade, right? He's the one wanted Westbrook. Westbrook he had to have him, traded away a caliber player like KCP. You know what I mean? To get him Kuzma. Well, Kuzma's he's wishy-washy. He's good. He's a good kid. He's a good basketball player.
He can score.
He can score, but there's something not connecting between the ears with him.
Hey, he a champion though. So
Well,
yeah.
okay. Back to who's playing now. Minnesota and Dallas are coming out of the West. I think Dallas actually will win this series. I don't know why. I have a gut feeling. I just think Minnesota, kind of like how when they won the first 2 games here in Denver, they got a little high. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're a young team, and you can't. And I'm not taking anything away from them. They beat the Nuggets fair and square. They beat them. They're just young, and sometimes when you get a little too high, you know what I'm saying, they haven't quite learned that you got to stay even.
I say about Minnesota in 6.
You think so?
Minnesota. The thing is,
Dallas has been playing really well, man.
They're defensively wise.
Dallas has 2 veteran stars, all-stars, veteran all-stars. Yeah. Dallas has played pretty good D, but Minnesota has the number 1 D.
Exactly.
As long as Minnesota's not allowed to just poke, prod,
deeper?
And push.
Who's deeper? That's what I'm saying.
Well, Dallas is pretty deep. They're pretty deep, actually. That's how they beat Oklahoma City. They're pretty deep. They went deep into their bench. I mean, they have a couple of rookies coming off the bench, so they're pretty deep. But they have two all-star veteran, basically guards. I know Luka's more like a forward. He plays 1 through 5, really, but. I was really looking forward to a Jokic Doncic matchup, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's going to be Dallas, Minnesota, and I think this goes at least 7 games. Well, at least that's all you can do. It's going to go 7 games, and I think Dallas actually does pull it out, and only because of the fact that Minnesota is going to come into this thinking that they're just going to sweep. And although Dallas is not very experienced, you got Kyrie's a champion, right? Mm-hmm. He won a ring.
That's it.
But that is it. But there's at least somebody on their team that has a champion pedigree.
I mean, that's it. Both teams.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
At least Dallas has that, and then Doncic on top of that is, I think, what did he end in, like number 3? Number 4 in the MVP voting.
4.
He was somewhere in there.
About 4-ish.
Yeah, but I mean, still, they have that going for them. Minnesota does have their defense. They have to win it this year, though. That was my point. Is they have to win it this year because they're going to be hamstringed, like big time come next year. They can't keep all of them players.
I mean, doing with the salary cap and free agency. It's very tricky nowadays.
Edwards might not even stay.
It's very tricky because the thing is you have to manage the roster and when you have like that, it's hard to keep everybody. It's hard to try to keep your top 7, 8 players.
It
is.
You know
what I'm saying?
Because they'll probably this is what I'm predicting, right? I'm predicting that Minnesota probably gets rid of Cat. And they keep Reed, right? Now this is granted they can talk Edwards into staying, right? He stays and actually plays for Minnesota because I don't think that's going to happen. I think he leaves just like everybody else with the dysfunction of the ownership and all of that because I think Conley's leaving. So like the whole dysfunction, they're probably what new ownership does when they come in, right?
Yeah. They
tear everything down because it's, now granted, it'd be harder to tear down this team because it's a winning product, but that doesn't mean they won't tear it down, right? Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is if they can't keep Anthony Edwards, it's going to be really hard for them to keep the rest of those players. But if they can manage to keep him, Minnesota is going to be a problem. And they only Conley they've got for 1, maybe 2 more years.
Yeah, he's not a fixture though.
No, he's but all they have to do is draft a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
He's that settling. He's that veteran. That voice, that calm. Yeah. So yeah,
if they can draft a young guy, right? And it doesn't even have to be a high draft pick. Doesn't even have to be a first-round draft pick. If they can draft a young guy that can ball control and control the game and be a floor general like Conley. they're going to be a problem for years to come. Minnesota is,
they have to do like this next team I want to talk about in OKC.
Yeah.
Like, as far as what they're going to do, Sam Presti, he's a master at a capology. You know what I'm saying? And he
that's true. No, that's true. But the thing is the way the cap is set up in the NBA right now, man, you have to be a genie, not just a professor. Like, you have to be magical to keep all-star players on your squad. And it's the Lakers and Boston kind of bred that. That's the reason why they have these rules now. Is to keep dynasties from, if you become a dynasty in this era,
you're doing something right.
Man, you have to be doing it. You have to be perfect, like perfect. And the Nuggets, I don't think they're out yet. I really don't. I don't think they have to do too much tinkering. They obviously have to get a little bit, not younger, but definitely. I mean, Reggie Jackson is not it. Love him to death. He's a Colorado kid, but he's not it. Yeah. He's not in on the backup point guard. He's got to be able to spell. The backup point guard has to be able to spell Murray for more than 4 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And the Nuggets do need to figure out what the hell they're going to do with Najee, and DJ for that matter. Like, DJ didn't play a minute in the Laker or the. Well, I mean, he played a little bit in the Laker, but
I think he's going to just call it quits, man.
He's a player coach at this point, right? Yeah. He's just sitting on the end of the bench, and he's there for that raw. But, man, the Nuggets have a window right now, and they need a backup center. And Najee's not it. Najee's a 4. If they can figure out a way to get themselves a backup 5 that doesn't mind, backing up the best basketball player in the world, because that seems to be the problem is you've got all of these good centers. They want to play. They want to start, right? They don't want to back up Nikola Jokic, and I can't blame them. I would want to start too, and I want my bag too. But if they can find a true backup center that plays even similar to Jokic's style or something that fits within the parameters, the Nuggets are about maybe one more piece away from that dynasty piece. And it may be Bruce Brown. You never know. He could be coming back, but they still need a backup point guard and a backup center, period, point, end of discussion, because the MPJ and AG do have backups. They have Peyton Watson and they have Christian Brown in order to back them up. So
he's not your household names, though.
No, the Nuggets have never had household names. Nikola Jokic was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial.
They champions, so with that
their household names here.
With that comes prestige, So they're gonna have to do a better job and try to bring in known free agents. I know
nobody wants to come here. That's always been the thing. Nobody comes to Denver in free agency unless they're like has been. Like DJ didn't come here when he was still playing at peak level. He wanted to play in LA. I mean, it just is what it is. That's why the Nuggets were able to home grow a team and win a championship. Now, it remains to be seen if that's going to be sustainable, obviously. But the bottom line is that they were able to do it. They were able to home grow. But the salary cap is going to be tough on everybody. You think the Lakers are going to come out of this scot-free come next year?
I'm just saying this. If you guys, like you saying that they can't attract nobody, no notable free agents want to come.
Dude, who was Austin Reeves though? Who was Austin Reeves?
No way Denver can consider themselves, trying to make a dynasty or nothing. That's not going to happen if they don't get,
If with the rest that they're about to get, and as long as Murray doesn't do anything stupid like go play for Canada this summer, or Jokic go play for Serbia for that matter, if they actually spend this summer rehabbing and recuperating and get the rest of the team to buy in, similar to what Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen did during their era, the Nuggets could have this same exact team. They did better this year than they did last year. Even their bench production was better this year, numbers-wise, than it was last year.
The Nuggets are not in trouble. Okay, they just need a little tinkering there.
That's what I'm saying.
But
That's all I'm saying. They don't need any major, like, what? Name me one free agent that the Nuggets are going to be able to go out and get. Even if they release, let's say they release DJ, they release Reggie Jackson, because all of these players, well, Reggie Jackson has a player option, so he could stay on the team if he just picks it up.
But I have to see the free agency, the NBA free agency tracker board.
Well, look at the tracker board, but I'm telling you, there's not much. And with what the Nuggets need, there's not anything.
I mean, I personally, I don't.
Because who are you going to get? Who are you going to get a backup as a backup point guard in free agency? Like who? And unless it is Bruce Brown, like who? I would really like to know, because I keep hearing from all these even Nuggets fans saying, "Oh, they didn't do anything in the offseason. They didn't do anything to build the team up." And it's like, bruh, they only had so much cap room. Do you want to break up the core? You've said it yourself. The Nuggets have the best starting five in the league. You have to trade away some of that in order to
get a bench, to get players off the bench. You have to. You can't.
You can't keep all of that. You can't do it. So the Nuggets may have to run it back with the exact same squad, because Christian Brown is on a rookie contract. So is Peyton Watson. The only ones I truly don't want them to run it back with is DJ and Reggie Jackson, and I love both players, and I do not say that lightly. But the bottom line is this, guys. Like, listen, like, those two players are not it right now. That's where I agree with you, is those two spots need to be upgraded. It's not that those two players aren't great or that they haven't been great and we're not grateful for them. It's just, man, they've aged. Reggie Jackson basically disappeared in this series. Not to forget or not to mention that the Nuggets were dealing with a lot of injuries. The Nuggets had played more basketball games than any team left in the playoffs.
Thank goodness for that. I'm just, they lucky. They hardly get injured, but
They were playing through a lot of minimal injuries, but they were playing through a lot of injuries. And Minnesota was pretty much fresh. Minnesota last year was playing through injury and all of that. So it wasn't their year this year. And my hat's off to Minnesota. We'll see what they're going to do against Dallas, but I think Dallas actually will get them. But to my question, who's going to be out there? And keep in mind, it's not just the free agency tracker. You got to check for bird rights. You got to check for there's different restrictions with restricted free agents.
But just looking at the names right here, I mean,
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah,
my mind's open. Lay some names on me.
It's hardly any unknown.
That's my point.
Only notable name I know is Bismack Biyombo. That was with Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I mean, other than that.
And he's still a work in progress, too.
Right. So,
like that, he's a completely dependent player.
I'm just looking at big men to replace DJ.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not seeing none.
Exactly. That is my exact point, my friend.
You might have to go draft route.
No, I don't even think they could draft a center right now, man, because the Nuggets they were number 2. I think we're going to be picking in that, they are going to be picking in that 20 to 32 range, right? I'm not even sure what the let me see. Let's see, because draft order 2024.
It's nothing on here. I'm looking at like the top 50 free agents.
Man, I'm telling you, bruh. And that was the same thing last year. It's like, yeah, there were top tier free agents that were available, but the Nuggets would have had to give up so much to get them, and they just didn't want to come here. Nobody wants to back up Murray. Nobody wants to back up Jokic. Nobody wants to back up AG. All of these people these stars don't want to back these guys up and take second fiddle. you're going to have to home grow it in a market like Denver. Denver has embraced that as us as fans, and I think the front office in Denver has embraced that you are just going to have to home grow these players. You may be able to strike gold and get a trade like AG. You know what I mean? Like, the Nuggets didn't have to give up much for him, bro. Like, they really didn't. And that was the last trade, I believe, that Conley made before he went to Minnesota, was he got the Nuggets AG, and that got them a championship. Like, literally, that was the trade that got them the championship. Without Murray, they couldn't win, but that AG trade coupled with that third option is what won the Nuggets a championship. So, but the Nuggets right now,
unless you guys get a general manager like R.C. Buford or Sam Presti from the Spurs and the OKC Thunder, you know what I'm saying, those guys, I mean. Yeah,
but they're able to manipulate. It's easy when you're losing to manipulate the cap because you can just trade players away like trading cards. But right now, the Denver Nuggets,
purgatory teams, because they always was in the middle of the pack.
Exactly. We've never. I think Melo's the highest draft pick we've ever gotten was the third pick overall. I don't think we've ever had a number one. At least I can't think of one.
I don't think so.
I don't think we've ever had a number two. Number three was the top, and that was Melo. But Murray was like a 7. He was a 7 overall. But right now the Nuggets sit at number 28 pick.
Did you say Jokic was in the second round?
Jokic was in the second round, in the middle second round, and picked during a Taco Bell commercial, my guy. Like, for real, they never even showed his picture, nothing. It was just like, Nuggets picked Nikola Jokic. Like, the commissioner didn't even come out and say his name. It was just scrolled across the bottom, Nuggets pick Nikola Jokic out of Serbia, and that was the pick.
Dang.
That literally happened.
Yeah. You want to go to the Eastern Conference?
Nah, I don't want to talk about the East. Nobody cares. No, of course I want to talk about the East, my guy.
You know.
Boston closes out. Who they play? Cleveland. That's right. So they knocked out Cleveland, moved on. They've been kind of just chilling and waiting for Indiana to close out New York, which I think that was a little more of an epic implosion than even the Nuggets. But the Nuggets are the champions, so it's kind of like, you know, that's a little worse. But even though, I mean, the Pacers, man, they handled their business against New York on their court. They hadn't won a game in New York, and then they go in there and blow them out. Now, yeah, Brunson did break his hand.
Exactly.
But when did he break his hand? It was like the third quarter. They were getting their butts whooped before that.
Yeah, but I still give Knicks props. They lost half. They didn't have half their team.
You talk about a team in trouble with the cap next year, because they made that they made all of those trades and built that team literally to make a run this year. And I feel bad for Knickerbockers, man. I do. And normally I don't feel bad for other teams' fans, but I feel bad for them because they honestly, the Nuggets have the best starting five, but the Knicks had the best team on paper. Like, if they had all of their squad, like, you're talking, they had a team of like 2.5 starting fives.
I told you.
Like, I mean, stacked.
It's like, it's the coach, man.
And he wore him out.
And the thing is, people get mad, and it was like, no, it's like,
who's that? Thibodeau, right?
Yeah, man. I mean,
he's notorious. He's notorious. We talked about that, right?
Right. This is not his first go around.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? I remember it was Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett was talking when Doc Rivers was the coach in Boston, and Tom Thibodeau was the assistant. He was the defensive coach.
Right.
And how they like really got on him in practice, and Kevin Garnett looked at Paul Pierce and said, "Man, I'm glad this guy not the head coach because Doc Rivers was cool. Doc Rivers like, oh, you all right? You know what? Don't come to practice. Doc Rivers a player coach,
right.
And the thing is, Tom Thibodeau in practice he would run these guys, and then
how many did he win in Boston though? 2? Did they win 2?
1.
They won 1.
They won 1.
Yeah, and that was mainly because of his talented team. He hasn't won one since.
No.
So, being a player's coach isn't necessarily because I would say Mike Malone is a player's coach too, but he's
like a coach homie.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I would say that's more like, and he hasn't won since. And Milwaukee made the biggest mistake by allowing a player to run a head coach out. That team. See, every team come next year is going to be in a lot of trouble.
I agree with you. I do not understand why they let Budenholzer go. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a great offensive coach. And they kind of went down.
Well, now he's in Phoenix, right? He's in Phoenix. They just signed him.
But that was weird though, because soon as they got rid of him, I was like, soon as their season was over, like they already had a agreement kind of like in the works. Like when our season, because of course you're not going to announce it when the coach is still there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure they was like an agreement. As soon as the season was over,
right?
Then they announced it, which I think that's Bush League. You know,
yeah, they had like an agreement in principle, but they couldn't announce it. I got you.
Yeah, I didn't.
But either way, he got signed to another team. He's going to be coaching another team. But that's Phoenix. Phoenix was supposed to be the team that was built to beat the Nuggets. Turns out Minnesota was that team, right?
They have problems. They have problems.
They have no defense. They have no defense whatsoever. Even their center is soft as baby crap. Like he really is. He's not a rim protector. He's not a he doesn't even have good footwork on the defensive end. He's just a big body that you have to get around. But for crafty scorers like the ones that are on Phoenix, that's not hard to do. Plus you get him in foul trouble with a good center like Jokic or just name any other center, like any other great center. I'm drawing a blank, like Embiid. Or, somebody like that. And he's in foul trouble. Now your center's off the court. So they need more than just a coach. But he did have Milwaukee climbing that ladder, and they were climbing all the way up until they made that switch on the coach, and all of a sudden Milwaukee couldn't win nothing.
For the life of me, I don't know why they got rid of the coach. But
not in mid-season when you're number 2 in the East. Like, I could see you getting rid of your coach if you were number 2, and in like 15 games you dropped to number 12. Okay, you might want to make some changes. But they were climbing. They were going up.
So they talking in New York. They trying to trade Julius Randle. They trying to trade Mitchell Robinson. They want to trade it.
My guy, they're gonna have to do something. There's no way they're gonna be able to keep all that talent. There's no way. That's just like
they got Anunoby, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, but I think his contract is up. That's why Toronto was willing to get rid of him.
Actually, I see him on a free agent.
So they're like, he could be. That would be a guy would be intriguing. That would be a guy I'd be intrigued to see play for the Nuggets, because that guy's the type of guy that playing with Jokic, he would just fly around the rim. Like, you wouldn't need him. He's not the type of player that you have to have. He has to have the ball in his hands in order to create offense, right? He's kind of like AG, as opposed to Murray. Murray he can play off ball, and he's good at off ball. Don't get me wrong, but that's not where he excels, right?
Right.
Anunoby does, right? He does excel off ball. He's good at on ball. He can take you to the rack. He's got some low post moves.
No, I've seen him play in a couple of games in the series.
Yeah,
he can ball. Indiana. Yeah,
he can ball.
But Indy, I didn't realize how potent their offense was. You know what I'm saying, or is.
Yeah, and they traded Bruce Brown away.
I know. I'm serious. They're very. It's going to be interesting.
Well, when you realize that you paid $20 million for a 12-point a game point guard. Like, I love Bruce Brown, don't get me wrong, and I'm glad he got his bag, but 10 to 12 million is what he was worth. The Nuggets couldn't give him that, but 10 to 12 is what he was worth. And if they would have offered him that, he would have stayed with the Nuggets at 7 million. So they had to offer him 20 million just to get him away. And then they realized that they got sold some magic beans.
That's what happened when you don't do your homework.
It is, because I mean everybody was talking about how the Nuggets wouldn't have won without him, and that may be true now.
But the thing is, that's what they go by. They don't look at him prior to the championship year, you know. But
the bottom line is everybody talks about how he was the one, he was that linchpin. He was a major piece.
Yeah, he was.
He was a major piece, and the Nuggets did miss him. But the bottom line is the Nuggets as a team, with the exception of not winning past the second round, numbers-wise, statistically, did better this year. Except for this round. Take out this round, every single, all the numbers point to the Nuggets did better.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily him. They did need more production last night from their bench, and especially like Christian Brown. I think, like I said, the only three to me, if I'm the GM, and they're probably glad that I'm not, but if I'm the GM, I honestly, the only three that are untouchable is AG, Joker, and Murray. Everybody else is movable. It's just you have to find the right suitor, right? You have to find the right suitor, because just because they're precious to us, and this is what I can't stress enough, Nuggets fans, especially you fair weather Nuggets fans, and this is to you. Just because they're precious to us here in Denver doesn't mean that the rest of the league is just like, oh, yeah, I want that player. Let me try. And not to mention, a lot of people are like, oh, Christian Brown played like crap. We need to trade him. Like, okay, listen to what you just said. Have you ever had somebody offer you something like, here, this tastes like crap. Here, you eat it. Would you eat that? Like, no. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself and be like, here's a piece of crap, eat it? Like, no. Why would you do that?
Hey, a lot of teams like you said, they like getting them magical beans.
Well, and some people's trash is some people's treasure.
Uh-huh.
I get that. It's not that I'm taking away from that. It's just that you have to keep in mind, you have to be rational about these things. Not every player, you're not going to just get, the Lakers to be like, oh, yeah, we want Christian Brown for, Austin Reeves or Hachimura. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen. And, you're not going to be able to trade Peyton Watson for, like, Sabonis. You know what I mean? To get a backup center. That's not going to happen. Sacramento would have to be dumb AF to trade away Sabonis for Peyton Watson. And I love Peyton Watson, but he's not going to give them production like Sabonis is. So, just stop with all of this crap, man. Stop with all of this crap about the Nuggets, needing this, that, and the third. Every team that is not playing right now, if you're not Minnesota, Dallas, Boston, or Indiana, every team needs to put some work in and needs to make some trades and make some cuts.
I'm serious. It's going to be a lot, like during the offseason, there's going to be a lot of trades.
There's going to be, well, I don't know about trades, but there might be a lot of cuts because trades are hard in the NBA. You have to match salaries. Why do you think when the Nuggets traded Melo to New York that the New York Knicks had to trade so much to get him? Why do you think? Because they had to match his salary.
Well, not major trades. It's going to be you talking about like a superstar type player.
I'm just saying,
give up half your team.
Well, I'm just saying, but my point is not just about the superstar. My point is that it's hard to make trades in the NBA because of the fact that there's so many different rules, and one of those rules,
you got two type of cap, like you got hard cap. I mean, you got a soft cap. You got different caps,
then there's different aprons that you can jump into and jump out of, et cetera, et cetera. It's really, 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 really hard to make trades in the NBA. It is almost better. That's why if you notice, most NBA players. Or not players, teams, they trade away picks. That's the players they trade away. Typically, you don't get too many player-for-player trades in the NBA because it's hard. It's really, really hard to do.
It's weird because now we look at number one picks like gold. Now, I mean, hey, I got a number one pick. Ooh, now they look at second-round picks like, You know, like how we used to back in the day as first round picks.
Right.
Second round picks are valuable now. Like real. I mean,
well, depth is the big thing right now. Having depth on your bench, clearly having depth right now is the thing to have. You have to have a deep bench so that you can rest your stars. Because if you play your stars like the Nuggets did, they're going to run out of gas in Game 7 in round 2 and not be able to move on. I mean, that is just the bottom line.
So who you pick in Indy, Boston?
I think Boston gets them in 4. That's what they should do, but it's probably
Sweep?
5. It's probably 5. I think
okay.
Indiana gets 1.
Okay.
But I think Boston is waiting for 3 days for whoever wins out of Dallas and Minnesota because of the fact that that series is going at least 6, but I think it's going to go 7. But I think Minnesota, after the physicality that they had to play just to beat the Nuggets, that alone, like I said, they're high right now. They're really, really high, and that physical 7 games that they had to play is going to take its toll in this. That's why I think Dallas gets them. I don't think it's in 5 or.
Yeah, but they're much younger though.
They are younger.
They can bounce back. They're physically.
They are resilient.
They bounce back wise. The thing is, I'm just going based on Ant. You know, Ant showed me something in Game 7 because every time he touched the ball, you seen 2-3 Nuggets like swarm at him, and so he had to. And
everybody else was open and hitting shots.
And Jaden McDaniels, you know what I'm saying, and Nas, you know.
And I think that's another way that the Nuggets made a mistake. They should have let Edwards eat and starved everybody else. Like that's how they won those 3 games, and they got away from that. But I'm not trying to relive that game much longer. We've been talking about that for like an hour now. But you asked me a question. I've got Dallas, Boston. And then I've got Boston winning it. I really do. I know that hurts, but I think Boston's the best team in right now.
I still got hope. That's why I'm hoping Indiana could do something. I don't think
because Boston's got that D too. Boston's got defense.
They do,
and they've got defense. Even their bench plays D.
That gets it. The other remaining 3 teams they have that Boston does. Boston is lackadaisical,
but they're hungry.
No.
They are hungry.
They
man.
lack it. When they found out Jimmy Butler was out for the series, they let them win. You don't do that. When they found out that Donovan Mitchell got hurt, they kind of like they take their foot off the. They don't like. Oh, really? We really gonna stick it to you? That they don't have that.
You saying they ain't got no killer instinct? Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we gonna see when they play against Indiana. I mean, they've got to.
Well, see, the thing is, they Indiana's not really hurt right now, so
This will be the second year in a row that Boston got a lower seed, like in the finals, in the Eastern Conference Finals, because they played the Miami Heat, who were a 7 seed. Mm-hmm. So this is the second time in a row. Normally, it's like the 1 and 3.
They set up pretty good.
Yeah, that's why we gonna see. We're going to see what their medal truly is.
I'm picking Minnesota and Boston in the finals.
Okay. Either way, I still got Boston winning. I think Boston has a high – see, the thing about Minnesota, they have that great defense, but they don't have an offense to match it. They have Edwards, and they have Cat that can shoot, and they have a few guys that can shoot. But if they're not shooting well, they're not beating Boston because Boston can shoot. Boston has a high efficiency defense and a high efficiency offense. And they're healthy.
And Indiana has a high offense, but their defense.
But they have no D.
And Dallas has a good offense, but their D is like
they got middle of the pack. Dallas is pretty good at defense.
Well, Indy too, but it's hard.
I mean, they held Oklahoma City to some pretty low scores, and only allowing them to win 2 games. So they've got some pretty good defense. Oklahoma City was a pretty high octane offense.
They good. That's the only team out
of the 4. They're up and coming.
Out of the 4 teams we talked about that lost in the semis. Yeah, OKC is the only team. I don't think they should. Don't worry. That's just experience. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And then grow from there.
Yep. I agree.
Other teams, just little tinks. Well, not New York. New York needs more than tinker.
New York's going to have to rearrange that
Revamp.
roster.
Revamp.
And it'll really depend on how many injuries they have. But the
I don't know. Do you think they need? I mean, I don't like being, saying they need a new coach every time. But I really think, they need.
Who's this?
I'm talking about. I'm
New
sorry,
York?
Thibodeau. Yeah. Because the thing is, the only thing he's gonna
they're
do.
not going to fire him after he got them this far with.
They shouldn't even make, because they was talking about the Knicks shouldn't even made the plan with their injuries, and they went all the way to the second round.
Thibodeau's not
game,
going
game
anywhere.
7.
He's not going anywhere.
He gonna have to do something.
Them players are going somewhere before he does.
Because even you were saying like, hey, that's why they got all these players so they wouldn't play their starters so much.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
That's why they built that team. They built that team to make their run this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like in if you put it in NFL terms, like L.A. the Rams a couple years back, right? They put all of their eggs in that basket and won a championship, and they haven't done anything since, right? They made that trade for what's his name, Stafford, right? So they made that trade for Stafford. They got Von Miller. They had what's that boy's name? Defensive lineman. Why can't I think of his name?
Ooh,
I know you know who I'm talking about.
Talking about.
But anyways, the bottom line is they built that team literally to win that season.
They won and done. Yeah.
And they because they traded away all their equity to get all of them players, but they got the ring. The only time it's a bad call is if you trade all of your equity and stuff away and then you lose. They won. They got their ring. So they got what they paid for, and they're paying for it now. If you notice,
still paying for it.
They're paying for it now. But eventually they might get back to the mountaintop. We'll see. But that is going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening on behalf of the Sportz Phenz and
NBA edition.
NBA edition.
Yes.
I mean, it's still Go Nuggets all day. I'm still going to be a super fan. I'm diehard. I've been watching them since 84.
You are a super fan.
I'm a super fan. I'm wearing Nuggets all day, and I will continue to do so. But thanks again for listening and watching our show. On behalf of the Sportz Phenz, we want to say thank you for supporting us as soon as people are supporting us. But peace out, and don't forget to stop by So High Cafe. Say what's up to Vinny. Get you some barbecue, man. Get you some, man. It's so damn good. Tell him that the Sportz Phenz sent you. It's off of Stewart and Alameda. My bad, people. Stewart and Alameda, come by and say what's up. Tell them the Sportz Phenz sent you. Peace out. Man, after a while, my